My name is Philip Siracusa. My near-death experience happened in 1981, Staten Island, New York. I was in the dentist office, and I remember they were getting ready to work on my teeth, and I was feeling a lot of pain. And they were giving me nitrogen oxide, which we used to call sweet air back in the day. And I was still feeling an overwhelming amount of pain, and they gave me more. And my mom had came with me, and there was a dental assistant. So there was a few people in the room, and I felt myself about a minute or two in as they're working on my teeth, and I'm breathing this nitrogen in. I'm floating out of my body. I'm leaving my body at this point. And I'm like on the ceiling looking down at everybody working on me. And I'm like trying to say, hello, hello. Can you see me up here? But obviously they couldn't see me. And then I was pulled through the roof of the dentist office and up into the sky. And I remember just floating. And then I would say within a mile up, as I'm looking down, I was pulled into this wormhole, a vortex, tunnel of energy, like a vacuum cleaner hose, for example. I was sucked through it so fast, and it was so long that it just took me at, if I had to describe the speed I was going, it was like thousands of miles an hour, it felt like. That's how fast I was being pulled right through, and it was total darkness. Nothing but pitch black. And as I'm getting pulled through it, there's an opening I can see in the distance, and the opening was this pinhole of light. And I was worried. I didn't know where I was, but I didn't feel any pain. And then once I came to the end of the tunnel, I felt overwhelmed with love and joy as this big, bright light opened up into the sky. So if you could just picture leaving the earth, going through a vortex of energy and being pulled into another dimension. And this other dimension was, it felt like when I opened my eyes, it was nothing but pure love and light and harmony. It was beyond perfect. Perfect is not even a good word for it. Total ecstasy, bliss. And as I'm pulled through it and I feel this overwhelming love, I remember this field, and the field looked like a huge cornfield, and it just went on for miles and miles, but each blade of grass was perfect. The sky was perfect. The mist blue in the sky was perfect. Everything was perfect. And what I realized is that there were colors there in this landscape that we don't have here in the physical world. And as I'm going through this landscape, I remember this garden. I call it the Garden of Love. And in the garden, every flower, every rose, every petal, everything was beautiful, perfect. Every tree. And as I'm looking through the mind's eye, because now it's the soul that left the body through this experience, it's nothing but pure love and high energy and a fulfillment of peace and harmony. And I was taking it in, enjoying it, not even thinking about where I was and where I came from. It's as if I was back home. That's how it felt. Like once I left there, I went home again. And at first I didn't see anybody. I was just taking in all the nature that was offered to the mind's eye that I was seeing. And I remember one point seeing and recognizing people from a past life. Not people that are here in the physical world, but as if they were part of my soul family, another family. And You know, you don't have to speak words. You can feel the emotions and the thoughts and the love. And I took all that in. And it was like I didn't want to leave. I felt like this is a place called home. I've been here. Somehow, I know everyone here. I was greeted with happiness. And I remember some of them saying, "You're back." And everyone looked perfect. You know, as if the soul's reflection of energy took the exact fit they should look like on this other side, which I would call heaven. They were perfect. And they were recognizable, and I knew every single one of them. So as I'm taking all this in and I'm just looking around and there's joys and laughter and love, I felt like I wanted to not only stay there, but expand my consciousness and go on into the fields. And I can tell you that I call this the fields of love, because each blade of grass is perfect, each tree in diameter, each leaf, each flower and rose, everything was perfect. This is not a fairy tale or make-believe. This is real. This is real. I mean, it's so real that it's realer than the physical world. And people may say, well, how is that possible? It's as if when the soul slips out of the body and crosses over to the other side, we not only have our senses, but we have these above and beyond senses that we can talk and hear people's thoughts through a form of telepathy. And you don't have to speak words. You can speak words, but you don't have to. And I felt like I was drifting through the field and then through the garden. And like I said, it just kept going on for infinity. That's how big it was. And then I remember looking at these mountains in the distance. And there are no mountains that we have here on the earth. They're beyond immense. Each rock was perfect. And it was if when I was floating towards the mountain, my thoughts were bringing me there, and I felt like love and peace, and it was all taken in, and all the other souls. Now again, I call everybody souls on the other side. It's home, it's people that we know through soul family, but who knows, maybe when we're there, when we cross over permanently, we look at each other and recognize each other as something like we do in the physical world over here on the earth. But I'll call them my soul family. And the amount of thoughts that came from them and the feeling of pureness was second to none. It was second to none. It was staggering. It was incredible. And I just kept exploring. And I will say that now people, you know, I know people have asked me in the past, well, were there homes in a place that you believe is called heaven? There is. It's a higher vibration. It's a perfectness. It's a vibration where if you pick your best day here in the physical world, you got a new job, you came into money, or you found someone that you love and you want to be with for the rest of your life, take that and times it by 1,000, and that's the higher vibration in heaven. And that's probably shortchanging what I'm saying. The vibration of energy that you raise to, you're not only aware, you not only feel, you don't have to speak, and it's as if you could just, time stands still. Where time doesn't exist, it stands still on the other side. And you don't have to physically do anything. You can think of doing the things in heaven that you want to do. And you can do them to the perfectness of what it really is. So yes, there are homes. I couldn't tell you how many people, it's, from the part of heaven that I've seen, I'm looking at hundreds of thousands of souls, and everyone's either playing in the fields, the garden, they're in their homes, the perfectness. Now, I've been asked before, well, have you seen God or Jesus? And the answer is, I do believe, but I believe that God is everywhere. He is the light. I felt like I didn't have to see a creator because the light was the creator. And I was overwhelmed in this light. So, again, picturing being in a dark room in the physical world, you can't see, and put yourself in there for days, and all of a sudden put on the brightest of lights, and now feel the emotions behind the lights and everything around you. It's joyful. It's extremely joyful. God is the light. God is the love. And he knows and feels our thoughts, our love, our pureness, our hearts, and accepts us. And when we cross over, we are the perfect fit of our souls that we've created through life journeys. Now, as I'm going through and I'm looking at the landscapes of perfection and the homes and the families and the children, it came to a point when I seen my grandmother, who had died in the physical world in the early 80s, and my grandfather, who I've never met because he was deceased before I was born. And my grandmother had, she was dressed in blue. I believe she was buried in blue, in a blue dress. And again, I didn't meet my grandfather in the physical world, but I knew who he was. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hello, Sonny," with this big smile on his face. And I says, "Grandpa." And my grandmother looked at me, who I loved very, very much, and she pointed her finger at me, and she goes, "Go back now." And I was like, "Grandma." And all of a sudden, I felt myself being pulled through this tunnel of energy, this vortex, this vacuum hose, for example, at a G-force, so fast. And I'm being pulled. I didn't have any thought process to say that I want to stay here with you. I was being pulled so fast, and I was pulled into this darkness. I wasn't worried, but I was alone in this total darkness. And I've been asked before, well, what is the darkness? The darkness is an infinite time of energy and space that goes on forever. It's as if in this tunnel of energy that is so big that when you're pulled through it, you feel like you can get lost in it and you will never be found. That's how it feels, because it's so big, and it's another dimension. It's not as if I'm going through the sky in the physical world. No, it's another dimension that we slept through. We call it the veil. We're crossing over to the other side, and from the other side, we cross to this side. And as I'm being pulled through this tunnel, I started to see the hospital. I'm going through the ceiling of a hospital, and I'm looking at my body. And as they're working on me, giving me oxygen, I guess I might have had an effect to the nitrous oxide that it didn't agree with me at that point. I didn't want to go back into my body. I didn't want to feel the pain. And you don't have any say over it. Once the other side tells you that you have to go back, it's not your time, you have to go back. And I slipped right in as if it was a glove. I slipped right into my body. And I remember be given oxygen and trying to breathe and gasping for air and opening up my eyes and seeing my mom and nurses and doctors. You know, I have to say that having a near-death experience and crossing over, people ask me today, am I afraid of death? Yes and no. We don't die. You know, it's the physical part of us, yes, but not who we really are. Not the soul, not the true essence of who we really are and why we came here. We're energy, and energy doesn't burn out. It can't be created nor destroyed. We're energy. And I believe through my experience that we've had multiple lifetimes and journeys through, whether it's different planets, different soul groups of families. But I will say this, that when we cross over, and the place I would call heaven, people may have a different name for it. And again, I call it home as well, because I believe that's the real home. It's as if when you go back home, you take in everything of who you truly are. I'm like, wow, I experienced what I wanted to, being a life force. And it's pretty emotionally exciting. On one part, coming back into the physical body, it can be draining. It's intense, but I will promise you, beyond the shadow of a doubt and a thought, it's real. The place called heaven, whether you believe or you don't believe in a higher power, does exist. And it exists on a higher energy, a higher vibration of frequency and love. There's nothing but pure ecstasy and pure love. And when you'll know when you get there, live this journey to its complete course. Don't take any shortcuts. And I'm looking forward to, I want to live my life with my family. I have a wife and kids here in the physical world, and I'm a grandfather. I want to live as long as I can and bring joy into their hearts, because that's what it's really about. It's about what we can do for our fellow man. It's not about money. It's not about that. It's about what you can do for others and help others and the families that you bring into the physical world. And there are so many challenges that we do go through here. And I believe from crossing over to the side, we chose those challenges before we were born into the physical world. We kind of write down what we want to experience in this time. And that's what we do. That's what I've done. So don't be afraid, but live life to the fullest and don't take any shortcuts. But it's about love, and it's what you can give out and help. And everything you do comes back as a reflection of positive energy. And don't expect anything. Let it happen and flow for the way it really is. My name is Philip Siracusa. I have a radio show called Horsefly Chronicles Radio. You can listen to the show, and I interview as well people with near-death experiences, paranormal experiences, and the unknown. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. Have a great, great night. Heaven is for real.